Hello, hello. Good afternoon. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us today to learn more about our Leadership Grand Traverse program in 2021 and for 2022. I do want to let everyone know this is being recorded today, and we will share this across our social media platforms and our YouTube channel later on this afternoon. And for now, I would like to kick us off with Kathy Meyer-Lewis. Kathy, thanks for joining us. She is going to go ahead and kind of give you guys a rundown of what Leadership Grand Traverse is. Then later on, we'll hear from this past year's participants and what they have to say about the program. And then we'll end with going over the application process, the deadline for that, what it looks like. And at that time, take any questions that you may have. If you do have questions, feel free to submit them through the Q&A chat box or in the chat function, and we will make sure to get to all of them. So Kathy, thanks for being here with us today. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thanks, Molly. So welcome, good afternoon. We are excited to be looking forward to 21-22 Leadership Grand Traverse. Molly had made mention of what the agenda is, but I also just put it in the chat as well too. So I would like to introduce who we have here first, and then I'll share my screen and we can go from there. We have my co-facilitator for Leadership Grand Traverse is Rick Vandermolen. So Rick, just give a quick wave.
Hi, everybody.
And then we have Camille, who is not only a past graduate of Leadership Grand Traverse, but she also works with Traverse Connect, and she helps our content and helps us with Leadership Grand Traverse as in our day sessions. And then we have Maddie and Howard, who also are past graduates of Leadership Grand Traverse just this past year. So any questions that you have, they would be more than happy to answer the questions, although do keep in mind that they were very inaugural in two sense. One is last year we had structured the program to go for 9 months, as opposed to we used to have 2 classes at about 4 months each, and we kind of elongated that last year to 9 months and had day-long sessions. So they were the first class that went through that. And with COVID, they were also the first class that went through this virtually as opposed to face-to-face. So I know that we had some learning curves around there, and just want you to be aware that that was their experiences, so they can talk about that. So with that, I am going to share my screen just so that we have, you can know what we are discussing here. And a little bit about Rick and I. We are both actual professors at Grand Valley State University. We are professors in educational leadership. Leadership is our passion, actually, and building leadership capacity is something that I know we both feel very strongly about. And this is our service in that it's a little bit different from K-12 education and leadership in K-12, but yet it's still leadership, it's community leadership. And so we've both been a part of this, I want to say, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, a number of years, and continue to do so because the people that we have met have been incredible. And we love leadership and to watch people grow. All right. You guys can see, right? Yes?
Yes, yep, Kathy, we can.
Okay. All right, Rick, I'm having a little trouble in moving it forward here. Okay, so this was our agenda that you had made, that Molly had actually said that we were going to cover. What is LGT? What will you walk away with? What's the structure of it? Scholarship opportunities, I believe Camille's going to make mention of that. How do you apply? And then end up with some questions and answers. So what is Leadership Grand Traverse? This is our mission. I'm not going to read it to you, but basically I will tell you that we strive 2 things. The first is to actually get to know yourself as a leader. Who are you as a leader? What are some strengths and some skills that you have that you already bring to the table? As well as what are some challenge areas or areas that you do wish to grow? And the second is to, whether you are somebody who has lived here for a long time, or you're new to the area, or you're coming back from the area, our second purpose or mission is really to have you experience all of the Grand Traverse region has to offer. Our day sessions include things like we have recreation day, we have Criminal Justice Day, we have Health and Human Services Day, so that you really can have a good flavor of our community at large. And how can these pieces maybe, you know, work together, or how don't they work together? And the hope is that you find your passion within the community that you wish to, you know, grow stronger in. What will you walk away from with the experience? And Rick, you can certainly jump in here at any point in time too. Couple of things. As I mentioned in the community side, you are actually going to walk away with, it's not just an exposure to the different facets of the community, but also some challenges that each of these facets have currently, presently, to this day. What are some challenges that we have within our community at large? You will have the experience to grow personally and professionally, and that would be in your leadership skill. And also what Rick and I like to do is we like to have you get to know yourself, as I mentioned, as a personal leader. And then we like to kind of expand those horizons a little bit and stretch maybe some of those areas that you aren't as strong in. And then figure out how are you going to come together so that you can build a better, stronger community together. So it's kind of a trajectory that we like to take you through this experience as you discover the community at large.
Kathy,
and the
can I
right
just
side,
add? Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
go
I was
ahead.
just going to say a couple other things to add to what you've already mentioned would be this is also an important networking opportunity for you in terms of meeting new leaders, new professionals and leaders within our community. And Kathy mentioned this already, but I think it's worth repeating, in just that one thing that we've found over the years that our graduates have expressed to us, either in a survey or to us personally, is just that they learned about the community to a greater depth than they had prior to coming to the experience, in that they weren't always aware of what the community had to offer in terms of social services or lack of social services. Things that we do in this community that sometimes are hidden from just being a citizen of the community, but this experience brings you closer to the inner workings of how this community comes together and provides and supports, tries to, at least, everyone who lives here.
Thanks, Rick. And on the right side are actually some skills that, and I'm going to call this still a draft, because every year Rick and I we do get our heads together and we're like, how can we tweak this to the things that are needed within the community? But the first is, you do start off in the opening retreat with identifying what your DISC profile, which is just another leadership inventory. And you're given a book, and there is another a DISC facilitator, David Vermilia, who facilitates that. And you take this assessment and you identify with your profile, as well as then how does your profile interwork with other profiles. And we try to kind of tap into that, you know, throughout the experience. That second bullet, communication, is a big one. It's not just in how to communicate, but, you know, and Rick can actually speak a lot more about this too, that we all each have different communication styles, but it's also how we actively listen, right? And how can we engage in some civil discourse? You know, many times when we have these passions in the different facets of the community, communication quickly breaks down. So instead of adding to that, how can we bridge the gap where we can discuss some of these problems, some of these challenges, you know, to some, you know, good resolution. Advocacy is a big one too, in that, again, we're hoping that you find a passion and a niche in some facet of the community, and that you are then willing to advocate for, and whatever that means for you. There's so many different ways of advocacy, of course, but the hope or the goal is that you do walk away with, hey, this is how I would like to advocate for, and fill in the blank, you know, our natural resources, preserving, you know, our Great Lakes. You know, maybe I want to get more involved in local government. So whatever that means for you, to give you some skills that you feel like you can advocate for that facet of the community. And at the end, we take you through a closing retreat in where we identify some of, like I said, the challenges that we currently have. You get some like-minded people together and you start an action plan that the hope is that you can then take forth on your own after this experience of Leadership Grand Traverse. Anyone else wish to add to that? All right. So what is the structure of the program? Molly, I hope you look, or Camille, I hope you guys look this over here. I think that this is going to continue to be our structure for 21-22, that we're doing it one class for 9 months, beginning in August. Yes, Molly? Okay. 13 sessions. Camille, we still have 13 sessions that we're going to be looking at.
I actually think it's 12 sessions.
Okay, 12 sessions.
Combined 2 sessions.
We have an opening retreat, as I mentioned before, that usually what we do at the opening retreat is actually spend the night. So we're really together for a good 24 hours. And a closing retreat. The closing retreat isn't a spending the night. The closing retreat, though, is you're with Rick and myself all day. And at the end of the day, then you have a graduation ceremony. Typically, I'm going to look at Molly again. I mean, last year, 8:30 to 4:30, when we're face-to-face, is our typical hours.
Yes, correct.
With lunch provided. And that's what the hope is. We want you to have lunch together. That's where a lot of community in the class comes together, you know, where it's not a working lunch in the fact that you're going to be talked at, but we hope that it's a community lunch, that we're together and we're building on our community as Leadership Grand Traverse class. And it is provided, as I mentioned. Rick had mentioned the networking. And the attendance piece of it is important too. You know, as you know, there is a cost to Leadership Grand Traverse, and we do our very best in really filling each of these sessions with content. And we ask each day facilitator, you know, that's their service too, to actually provide for you. So we ask that if you participate in this, if you make that commitment to do so, that you're making a commitment, you know, to each of the sessions. It just helps to build the community, and it honors each of the day facilitators for all of the work they have done within the planning of each session. Scholarship opportunities. Go ahead, Camille.
I love that 12 will just remain now on all the slides. All right, well, thank you. So Molly is going to go over the application process with you all. So you'll see at that point when Molly starts to talk about that the application is pretty long, but within that application, I think it's the 26th question, you'll be asked if you would like to apply for a scholarship. So this is, I wanted to explain to you what those scholarships are for. So Traverse Connect has received some funding from the Michigan Film and Digital Media Office via their Creative Chambers program. So a little bit of sort of why we're offering this scholarship. So tuition for Leadership Grand Traverse this year, 2021-22, is $2,000 in full. And that tuition fee is payable at the time of acceptance into the program, which is quite a lot. So we recognize that fee can actually be prohibitive to professionals who maybe work for themselves, who work freelance. To pay this out of pocket is actually quite a bit of an ask. So typically the fee of $2,000 is footed by your employer, or at least a large portion of it would be footed by your employer. Many creative professionals, people within the creative fields, work freelance or on a very small team, or they're their own CEO. So they'll be paying this out of pocket. So we want to break down a barrier for those creative professionals in order to be able to enter Leadership Grand Traverse and have an opportunity to participate. So we're offering 4 scholarships this year for creative professionals to participate in Leadership Grand Traverse. And that scholarship will cover 90% of the tuition fees. So that's a value of $1,800 total. So you'll be liable to pay $200 of that entire tuition fee. You might ask, what is a creative professional? And I think that you'd actually be very surprised that you may fall under that category. So in order to qualify for the Creative Coast Scholarship, you must be an individual working directly within one of the creative sectors. And on our website, on the Leadership Grand Traverse webpage, you will see that there's a link to the creative sectors as outlined. It's essentially outlined by the US Census Bureau. So I would strongly encourage you, if you have an inkling that your industry might be covered, to please look at that, look at those sectors, and you might find that you're surprised, because the creative professions include things like software developers, people within marketing and advertising, manufacturing as well, can also be considered as a creative profession. One of the great things about this scholarship is that you do not need to be an investor at Travers Connect to apply for this scholarship, but it is expected, or we'll certainly ask you to join Travers Connect at a discounted rate on completion of your of Leadership Grand Travers. So I wanted to, Kathy, can I share my screen? Because I wanted to show that process of how it looks on the application. Okay, I can't see any of you, but just give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Great, okay. So what you're seeing on my screen here is the application for Leadership Grand Travers, and you'll see this is question number 26, so it's quite deep into the application. This question is going to ask you how you plan to pay for your tuition, and if you would like to apply for that scholarship, you can click answer D, I'd like to apply. It's then going to ask you to take a look at the creative sectors. And there's a link here to that listing of creative sectors. Hopefully you'll look through it and you'll find something that aligns with what you do, with what your work is. So you'll click my work is categorized as one of the creative sectors as outlined in the link above. And then the next question is going to ask you, well, what exactly is that creative sector? So you might type in something like software developer. And then you'll move to the next question. And it's going to ask you just a few more questions about, you know, the status of your employment. Are you self-employed? Do you have your own company, etc.? You can click none of the above. That won't disqualify you from the scholarship application. And then we're going to ask you in just 150 words or less to tell us why you think you'd be a good candidate to receive this scholarship. And that's it. Then you'll be asked to submit your application, and it's as simple as that. So if anyone has questions about the specificity about their specific industry or profession and whether they might qualify for that scholarship, you can reach out to me directly. My email address is on the Leadership Grand Travers webpage. And I think that's it. Is there anything I'm missing, Molly?
No, I think you did a great job in covering that.
Okay, thanks.
So
Thanks,
that
Camille.
oh, go ahead, Kathy.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say that does lead into the next part, which is talking about the application process. So Camille briefly showed you the end part of what that looked like when it comes to scholarships specifically. But something that she did mention was that this is an in-depth application process, and it's this way for a reason. Leadership Grand Travers has been around since the 90s. So it is definitely a staple program within our community. We only select up to 24 individuals for this program for 2021 and 2022, meaning we get many, many more applicants beyond that. And we really take an in-depth look at the answers we're providing within this application process. What I mean when I say that is, please don't brush this off and answer in 1 or 2 sentences. Please take your time to really let us know why you think you'd be a good fit, your past leadership experiences, where you hope to grow in the future, what interests you. Because ourselves on this call, Kathy, Rick, Camille, and myself, as in addition to a Leadership Grand Travers committee, which is a part of our professional development committee at Travers Connect, gets together, and we take a lot of time to read through every single one of the questions and answers that you are submitting. And it is the committee as a whole that decides who then gets to move forward this year, and then who we go back to and encourage to apply again in the future. So I really just want to make sure, you know, you guys are taking the time. We do understand it's long, but we do read every single one of your questions. So please know that. So we do have the applications opening tomorrow at 8 a.m. So June 16th, and they will be open for 1 month through July 16th. Again, that's June 16th through July 16th. And then we will notify all applicants of the final decision no later than July 30th. So I did include our Traverse Connect Leadership Grand Traverse website link in the chat section here on this webinar. We have uploaded the dates for when this will be taking place this year, starting off with our orientation all the way through closing retreat. What I encourage all of you to do is to go ahead and block those dates off in your calendar now, just in case you are selected, you are already committing, you know that you'll have something on that date and to not schedule anything else. So you can, again, take a look at those dates there. And for joining the webinar today, we are also going to go ahead and give you the application link a day early. So I'll go ahead and put that in the chat now. This is the application. You do have a month to complete it, but we wanted to give you early access a day early. Otherwise, you can always go to our website. There'll be a big apply button there starting at 8 a.m. tomorrow. You can come back at any time as long as it is in by July 16th. Kathy, is there anything I missed on that application piece?
I don't believe so. No. I mean, I don't, yeah, you didn't mention the date of the orientation or the, but maybe you don't know that yet.
All of those dates are listed out on our website.
Okay.
So once you are notified, which you're going to be no later than July 30th, any date that you see listed there would be something that you are required to attend, starting with orientation all the way through our opening retreat, which, as Kathy stated, is an overnight stay. It is required that you do stay for the overnight portion all the way through closing retreat. So all those dates are listed there with a brief description of what those days will entail as well.
All right. Well, thanks. Thanks, Molly. So I'm not going to share my screen this time because now I want you to actually see Maddie and Howard and Camille. You can certainly jump in here at any point in time too. Sorry, I know that but as a, you're kind of switching your hat if you don't mind. Now you're an LGT graduate, an alum, not graduate, I apologize. And I just wanted to, first I wanted you guys to do is just introduce yourself briefly, like who are you? What are you doing? And then I'll start asking you guys questions that you can respond to. So Maddie, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Maddie Cicito, and I'm a Leadership Grand Traverse alum, as previously mentioned, and I'm currently the assistant to the president at Interlochen Center for the Arts, and I reside in Traverse City, Michigan.
Thanks, Maddie. How about you, Howard?
Hi, I'm Howard Kellycutt. I'm an sales account manager with the Blue Cross Blue Shield Blue Care Network of Michigan, and I am also a recent alumni graduate of LGT. And I am not originally from Traverse City, although I've been here in 23 years. This program was really good for me in that aspect.
And Camille, I know I kind of already introduced you, but I might have missed something that you wish to share with them.
Thank you. I'm Camille Hoisington. I work at Traverse Connect. I'm director of strategic projects. And I went through LGT this past year, so it was all virtual. Do you want me to talk about what I found so useful about LGT at this point?
Not yet.
Okay, not yet.
Yeah, not yet. All right, so I'm going to just ask a couple of questions, but I guess in the meantime, I'm asking those that are viewing this, if you have specific questions, please put them in the chat, and then we'll try to get them to answer it. And Rick, again, too, you can jump in if there's a question that I'm missing or that you think that's appropriate, please jump in. So I will start with you three. So I do identify one gain that you have had by participating in the program. What's one positive experience, one gain that you had?
I would say that there were countless positive experiences, but in particular, the one that resonated with me the most was our DISC profile assessment. It starts right there at your opening retreat, and it definitely carries with you throughout the LGT program. And in particular, I found that it helped me not only identify my strengths, but my weaknesses, and improve my overall leadership skills and abilities, made me a better collaborator, and also helped me identify my colleagues' DISC profiles to work better with them as well, which I think has been an incredible experience that I'll forever carry with me in my professional career.
I would have to say for me, it was also the DISC was very key. And the second thing that it runs a very close second is just the different areas that we learned about everyone involved in the Grand Traverse area, whether it's natural resources, whether it's human services, the law enforcement system. It's all very fascinating. And there was a lot of things, even with natural resources, that I just did not know existed in this area. So a lot of insights in the Grand Traverse area was probably another top one for me.
And for me, I mean, as Maddie said, I learned a lot about myself through the DISC profile. I think that was incredibly valuable, just learning about my own leadership style and how to hone in on that and embrace my own strengths and qualities. But I think overall, what I gained was just a big picture thinking about Traverse City and the Grand Traverse region, how everything is intertwined, how organizations interconnect with one another. It really gives you an amazing high-level view of our entire system, our entire economy here, as well as our, our ecology and landscapes, and like the nature days were great. And yet for me, because I'm relatively new to Traverse City, I've been living here for 2.5 years, that was so valuable as a newcomer to the region, to be able to have that deep dive and get such an insight into where I live. That was the most valuable thing to me, I think.
So I'm going to ask this question, and you guys kind of answered it, but maybe hone in on a little bit more. So think about how you have evolved, and this might be a challenging question because I'm sure we've all evolved through this pandemic, right? But think about how you have evolved, and did Leadership Grand Traverse, what role did they play in that evolution, if any?
Well, I would say for me, I evolved in the fact that I learned how to sit through virtual meetings all day long. We got really good at that. But seriously, I would say the one thing that helped me evolve was just participating in these sessions with my classmates in the opening retreat. Do not miss the opening retreat. That is so key and valuable. But it helped me realize I do have my points of view and they're not always right. And when you hear more than one person come at you in discussions, just with their points of view, it just kind of opens your mind like, oh, wow, I guess I never really thought of whatever the area was. I never looked at it from that angle. So that to me was the most valuable, just to remind me to keep an open mind, no matter what the topic is, no matter what the subject is. That was valuable.
Thanks, Howard. What do you think, Maddie?
I would say that LGT played a critical role in helping me evolve as a teammate. I've always seen myself as a team player, but being able to identify certain parts of my profile as a leader also helped me identify when I'm in a team environment, how I might take things personally or how I might blame myself rather than sharing a project with others. So I think it just overall helped me become a better collaborator by identifying how I'm maybe taking things a bit more personally, but how I can take this professionally moving forward to be a better teammate for people in my office and just be a better collaborator all around. I think every session challenges you to do that. And it's definitely a skill set you'll carry forward.
So for me, I think I evolved in learning that there are so many other people out in the community that have incredible skill sets, really diverse backgrounds, and it taught me, going through LGT taught me that I should think outside the box, not just ask my own teammates within my work environment, but also think about people I know within my network that I could call on for help with a specific topic or problem solving. So it really taught me to lean on that network that I gained from going through LGT.
This might not be a fair question because you guys did just graduate not too long ago, but so I'm asking for forgiveness in advance. As I said, that we're hoping that you had identified a passion area of yours through LGT, and two of you had already mentioned natural resources. So I don't know if that's your passion area, if you just enjoyed, that day. In the passion area that you've identified, something that you feel pretty strongly about, what have you done moving forward, or what is it that you would still like to do? Camille, you're smiling.
Well, so much of my work at Traverse Connect is intertwined with what Leadership Grand Traverse is about. I mean, my work at Traverse Connect is about bringing new talent to our region, encouraging people to relocate here. A lot of my work involves marketing our region as being a great place to live, to work, to play. So for me, I was very passionate about any of the days that focused on what the future of our city looks like, the economic development for our city, but also I really loved the day that we focused on the urban planning of our city, sort of the history of how we've got here, but also plans for the future. Because I'm very passionate about things like the quality of life here and the walkability of our city, plans for future parks, for bike lanes. So it definitely reminded me that that's what I'm passionate about. It was sort of a confirmation of my passions.
Great.
I would
Maddie,
say,
Howard?
yeah, I was going to say it definitely similarly ignited or affirmed my passion about creating an equitable environment for anybody and an equitable community. So whether it's diversity, equity, and inclusion, affordable housing, accessible daycare, healthcare, I think that niche really struck with me. And I look forward to continuing to being an advocate, whether it's through Northern Michigan E3, Up North Pride, and other equitable movements. I definitely think that it affirmed my passion, and I look forward to being a part of those movements in the Grand Traverse area moving forward.
Great.
And I will just chime in that there was a few different areas that piqued my interest, but I would say probably the one would be the natural resources and seeing what I can do. I'm investigating what I can do to partake. I know when we did the walk through on our nature walk, they were saying how to build stairs and that they need help and recruit people and things like that. So that's what I'm kind of looking into because I'm an outdoors type person, and I just want to make sure that we can keep passing on these beautiful resources that we have up here and keep that going and getting people out and enjoying what we do offer in this area.
Thank you. Well, so knowing that we have about 30 interested folks who are listening to us right now, is there anything else, just one kind of final thought that you wish to share with them about the experience of Leadership Grand Traverse?
I
I
would
would
like,
say
How much time do we have?
we're all so eager. I'll go quickly. And Camille kind of hinted at this, but I've been in Traverse City this summer. It will be 4 years. And being new to this area can be very intimidating. And especially if you're a young professional and you don't really have that many connections and you don't really know what Traverse City or the Grand Traverse region has to offer. And this really just not only made me feel more a part of the community by learning about shared experiences with others in this region, but also just giving me the bigger picture and knowing that now I can reach out to somebody at Munson or Blue Cross Blue Shield and at Traverse Connect if I have a personal or a professional need. It just makes you feel much more a part of this community, and it is 110% worth it. I proudly display my Leadership Grand Traverse diploma next to my other graduation and degrees. So I definitely recommend it to everybody.
Thanks, Maddie.
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna
Yeah,
say-
You want to go, Camille?
well,
ahead,
I was
Camille.
just going to say exactly what Maddie said, but she said it much more eloquently than me. But basically, if you are new to the area, you absolutely have to do this because it will just get you plugged in from the get-go. So it's incredibly valuable for newcomers to the region. It's also an opportunity for people who are not new to the region to meet our new cohort of the population, which I think is incredibly valuable too.
There are a lot of valuable things that take place, and I kind of jotted down some things that I didn't expect or expected. It is great networking opportunity. You're going to have 18 to 20 classmates, as both Camille and Maddie mentioned. You do connect all over the map, from a CPA to someone at Munson to real estate, all things like that. And then you go into this anticipating Rick and Kathy are just going to talk at you all day long. Not going to happen. They bring in guests for every session, and really they keep their talk and little lesson plan for LGT to a minimum, which is great. Not only for them, but they're not experts in every area that you talk about in every session. So they bring in the experts, and that's what kept it, even though we had to be virtual, that's what kept it enticing to want to dial in every month or every third week, whatever we met. And I mentioned it earlier, the opening retreat is so valuable. If you got to commit your time to this, if you don't have your head in the game and you think, well, I'll make 9 of the 12 sessions, then don't waste your time. Somebody else who may want to be really eager to participate in all 12, step aside when you know you can have your head in the game, because I'm telling you, those are heady days. They're long days. Not that they're not enjoyable, but you're pretty whumped at the end of the day because you learn so much, and it does get you involved, and they make you think. And I hope to gosh that you're not virtual the full thing. It doesn't sound like it when I see lunches being provided and all that. It looks like we'll be back person to person. I would say that would be the only negative part to ours, was we made it work. We had a great team to make it work virtually, but I do think we missed out on some of the fun things of doing the hands-on, being there in person. The few little retreats we did in person were great. So you just got to be committed and be prepared to learn a lot, because you will.
Yeah, Howard, I actually wanted to touch on that. You brought up a great point of last year's class. Obviously, with COVID-19, we did have to be remote, and we did make it work. We tried, when we could, to be in person, we were. So it's a great question, and someone actually did ask it as well. I do just want to clarify, this year's class will be 100% in person. There will not be an option for remote unless necessary. So unless, unfortunately, for some reason, if COVID were to have another spike, which we hope does not happen, we will obviously do whatever we need to do to keep everyone safe and go back to virtual. But it is our plan A to push forward 100% in person without option for remote. So I do want to make that clear in case anyone is a little worried or on the fence about that. In that case, I would recommend waiting another year, but if you are okay with being in person, that is what we will be doing for this year. So thank you, Howard, for touching on that as well.
There was another question, and as I answer this, is there more? What didn't we share with you that you would like to know? So, please populate that. This other question that I have is work required outside of the sessions? And that is a good question, because to be, totally transparent, we have discussed about having some projects and things like that. At this time, though, there is no work that's required outside of the sessions. If by some chance, like I said, we really want you to attend, but understand that emergencies happen. And if there's an emergency or life happens or something like that, and you're not able to attend a session, let's say Health and Human Services, for example, then we very well may ask you to replicate what your classmates did so that you can still have that experience. But that would really be the only time that there's work was required outside of the sessions.
There is sometimes we do require reading beforehand, but it's very brief. I would say 20 minutes max, if that, but nothing beyond that.
Right. What other questions are out there that you're interested in? Rick, do you have any closing thoughts? Putting you on the spot.
Sure. I mean, I think that if you have an interest in learning about this community and becoming aware of what it has to offer you and how you can become involved, finding a niche that you maybe were wondering about, I mean, I know for me, when after I finished Leadership Grand Traverse almost a decade ago, this helped me understand where I felt the calling for some kind of civic responsibility. It helped me identify where I would like to start that work for my own self. And so I jumped into this opportunity when it presented itself, and I really it aligns a lot with my work. I can see the synergy there. So there's some opportunities here to just discover about who you are in terms of your motivations, and opportunities to learn and make some great friends who, we've had plenty of examples where people who've been part of cohorts in the past have still remained in contact with each other. They go places sometimes together, but again, it's about that network of professionals that sometimes actually get to the place and space where it becomes more than that. It becomes friendships and families connect and so forth. So it's a really rich experience. But again, I think this is just an experience. You get out of it what you put into it. And I think Howard was mentioning that in his comments. If you're motivated to be part of this and you really want to commit to it, you will get a lot out of it. If you're looking at it like a bunch of Fridays that I have to go to and do some stuff that might put me in a just uncomfortable place, then you might not be ready for it, simply because you want to be prepared to be stretched, to know that you're going to move from a place of comfort to a place of uncomfortableness, where we can be in that place and space together.
Thank you. Thanks, Rick. Well, Molly, Camille, I don't see any additional questions at this time. So maybe just review when the deadline for the application is, and if they have further questions, who to ask.
Yep. So I did include, again, just a reminder, the application, you guys do get access to it one day early. I did put that link in the chat section, but officially our application will open tomorrow, June 16th, and will remain open through July 16th at 12 p.m. And then again, a reminder, we will be notifying all applicants of the status by July 30th. So if you are interested, you're applying, I do highly recommend to go in, put those dates in your calendar as a placeholder for now. But you have 1 month, June 16th through July 16th for that application.
And many, many thanks to Maddie, Howard, and Camille for being a part of the panel and and describing your experiences. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. Thanks for asking. It was fun.
Thank you.
All right, Molly, I believe we're all set. So where do they go if they have questions? You said just contact.
If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My name is Molly McGurr. I'm the event and program manager for Traverse Connect. You can find my contact information on our website. Please feel free to call me, send me an email. If you start the application and have questions, please reach out. We are here to help. So any questions at all, let me know. And again, this will be recorded, shared on our YouTube page by the end of the day today. So feel free to share with anyone else who may be interested. And we hope you all apply. So thank you so much for joining us today, Kathy and Rick. Thank you for your input as well and for explaining what LGT is. We hope to see your applications come through and enjoy the rest of your day.
Right.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everyone.